a prophet whom the tyrant Nimrod wanted to burn alive. But when he was thrown into the fire, Allah made that fire cool. And then for years, he prayed and cried for a child. And when he was blessed with a son at the age of 84, Allah's command came. O Abraham, sacrifice your innocent son in the way of Allah. Today's story will not just make you cry, but it will tell you what the true meaning of Allah's love is. Dear friends, Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was such a great prophet of Allah that Allah took great sacrifices from him. Nimrod tried to burn him in the fire, but Allah Almighty brought his prophet out of the fire safely. When Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, returned home, his father said, O Ibrahim, if you do not leave your Allah, then leave my house. Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, left his home without any complaint and set off towards Egypt. When the king of Egypt was convinced that Ibrahim was a true prophet of Allah, he married his daughter Hazrat Hagar to him. After this, Hazrat Ibrahim took his wife Hagar to Palestine and settled there. But they had no children. They prayed to Allah day and night, O my Lord, grant me a righteous and obedient son. Years passed, age advanced, but their hope remained. Even at the age of 84, they continued to plead, O Allah, I am not despairing of your mercy. Grant me a son who will be my support in old age. Finally, Allah Almighty accepted their prayer. At the age of 84, Hazrat Ibrahim was blessed with a beloved son. He named him Ismail. Think, friends, what would be the love of a father who had a son at the age of 84? Hazrat Ibrahim kept Ismail close to his chest all the time, kissed him, carried him on his shoulders, and played with him. But less than a week had passed since Ishmael's birth when Hazrat Gabriel, peace be upon him, came to Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, and said, O Prophet of Allah, Allah's command is that you separate your wife and child from yourself. Hearing this, Hazrat Ibrahim's heart trembled. He asked, O Gabriel, where should I leave them? Gabriel, peace be upon him, replied, where Allah commands. I will take you there. Be ready tomorrow morning. The next morning, Hazrat Gabriel came in human form, riding a camel. Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, placed his wife Hagar and son Ishmael on the camel and rode on himself. Gabriel's camel was leading, and Ibrahim's camel was behind it. They left Palestine, passing through city after city. Weeks passed, and after a month's journey, they reached that desolate land of Arabia, where there was no human being for miles around, only black mountains and deserted valleys. Finally, they reached the place between four mountains, where the Kaaba stands today. But at that time, there was neither water nor any human. Gabriel, peace be upon him, stopped the camel and said, O Ibrahim, Allah's command is that you leave your wife and son here and return. Hearing this, Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, became restless. He was the same Ibrahim who remained silent even when thrown into the fire, but today his heart was breaking. He said, O Gabriel, there is no water, no food here. How will my wife and child survive here? Gabriel, peace be upon him, replied, O Prophet of Allah, this is Allah's command. Saying this, he left. Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, held his son Ishmael in his lap for a long time, tears flowing from his eyes. Perhaps the thought came to his mind, I wonder if I will ever see my son again. He quickly gathered firewood, made a small hut, placed his wife and child in it, and set off for Palestine. When his wife Hagar saw her husband leaving, she ran after him crying and said, Where are you going, leaving us in this desolate place? There is no food, no water. How will my child and I survive here? Ibrahim, peace be upon him, wanted to answer, but then Gabriel, peace be upon him, came again and said, O Prophet of Allah, you are commanded not to answer. Return silently. Friends, think of the pain of that old father who had a son after 84 years of prayers, and today he was leaving his child in the wilderness. The camel was moving forward, and his wife Hagar, holding Ishmael in her lap, was running behind it. She was running behind him, crying, Why are you leaving us? My child will die of thirst. But Ibrahim, peace be upon him, had Allah's command. His heart was breaking, but his tongue was silent. His wife Hagar kept running behind him. Finally, tired, she asked, Did Allah command you to leave me and my child in this desolate valley? Ibrahim, peace be upon him, said nothing, just nodded his head to indicate yes, this is Allah's command. Hearing this, tears welled up in his wife Hagar's eyes, but courage filled her heart. She said, if this is Allah's command, then go. My Lord will protect me and my son. I am ready to make any sacrifice for my Lord. Saying this, she stood there and watched her husband leave. Slowly, the camel disappeared behind the mountains. His wife Hagar sat there and cried. Meanwhile, when Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, turned back and did not see his wife, his heart became restless. He stopped the camel, fell into prostration, and prayed with tears, O my Lord, on your command, I have left my wife and child in this desolate place. There is no water, no food here, but you are their owner and protector. Saying this, he set off for Palestine. Meanwhile, his wife Hagar, holding her young son Ishmael in her lap, started returning towards that hut. Silence was all around. Far and wide, only desolate mountains were visible. His wife Hagar was no ordinary woman. She was the daughter of the king of Egypt. She had spent her entire life in palaces, with servants, comfort, wealth, and all kinds of blessings. But today, a test from Allah was before her that no one could imagine. When Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, left her in that desolate valley and returned, his wife Hagar, holding her young son Ishmael in her lap, kept looking in the direction her husband had gone for a long time. Slowly, the camel disappeared from sight. Now there was only silence all around. She slowly returned towards the small hut that Ibrahim, peace be upon him, had made of wood. Night had fallen, the sky was full of stars, and black mountains stood all around as if they too were watching this lonely mother in surprise. The sound of the wind in that wilderness was also frightening. His wife Hagar sat silently, holding her nursing child to her chest. Perhaps the moon that night was also thinking, seeing her, who is this woman sitting alone in such a desolate place? What kind of mother is this, sitting in the middle of the wilderness with her innocent child in her lap, crying? Not even a bird flies here, so who is this who is staying here relying only on her Lord? Friends, this was our mother, his wife Hagar, a woman who sacrificed her entire life for Allah. An ordinary person would break down at a small difficulty, but his wife Hagar did not lose faith in her Lord even in such a trial. Holding her child to her chest, she must have looked at the sky and said in her heart, O Allah, I have only obeyed your command. Now you protect me and my child. When morning came, the desolate valley of Mecca looked even more frightening. Far and wide, there was only stone and sand, no trees, no water, no human. His wife Hagar repeatedly looked at her child and thought, how will I save him now? She had a small pitcher of water, from which she drank a little herself and gave a little to her son Ishmael. But eventually, that water also ran out. 3 days passed, and the last drop of water from the pitcher also finished. Now the situation was such that her throat was dry from thirst, her lips were cracking, but the greatest pain was seeing her child's condition. Young Ishmael was crying from thirst, his innocent voice echoing in that wilderness, and a mother's heart was breaking into pieces. His wife Hagar could not bear to see her child in that state. She laid Ishmael on the ground and, with hope, ran towards Mount Safa. Perhaps water would be visible from up there. She climbed the mountain quickly. The sun was strong, hot wind was hitting her face, but a mother did not care about her own life. She only saw her child's thirst. When she reached the top of Mount Safa, she looked far and wide, but everywhere there was only dry land, no sign of water. Disappointed, she immediately descended and ran towards Mount Marwa. Her steps were getting faster, with only one hope in her heart that perhaps water would be visible from the next mountain, but there too, there was only wilderness. Friends, when a person is in trouble, someone is there to help them. But at that time, on that hard and stony ground, there was a lonely mother who was watching her child suffer from thirst, and there was no one to help her. Tears were constantly flowing from his wife Hagar's eyes. She would run towards Safa, then towards Marwa. Each time she had hope that perhaps this time she would find water, but each time she was met with disappointment. Whenever she thought of her child, she would look towards the hut in panic, wondering if her child had fallen silent from suffering. Then she would run even faster. It was morning until afternoon. The sun's heat had increased even more. The mountains of Mecca were scorching, hot air was rising from the ground. His wife Hagar's strength was failing. But a mother's heart was not ready to give up. Inside the hut, young Ishmael was crying from thirst, and outside, his mother was wandering in search of water. Finally, after running between Safa and Marwa several times, his wife Hagar, tired, sat down near Mount Safa. Now she did not even have the strength to stand. She raised her tear-filled face towards the sky and cried, "O Allah, protect my child. I cannot watch him die before my eyes. If death is destined, then take me first, but have mercy on my innocent child." Saying this, she rested her head on a stone. But then she heard her child's cry again. How can a mother ignore her child's voice? She got up in panic and looked towards the hut. But friends, this time the scene she saw made her breath stop. She saw a person standing near the hut, and water was gushing out of the ground with great force. His wife Hagar immediately ran there. But when she got close, the person had disappeared. She saw that water was coming out from near her young son Ishmael's ankles. Allah Almighty had made a spring of water emerge from that desolate land for his prophet Ishmael and his mother. Hazrat Gabriel, peace be upon him, had come. He put it in young Ishmael's heart to strike his heel on the ground. As soon as Ishmael struck his heel on the ground, a spring of water burst forth from below. Seeing this, his wife Hagar fell into prostration. Tears were flowing from her eyes. She thanked Allah with tears. She picked up her child and gave him water to drink. She herself drank water, but the water was coming out so fast that she feared it would flow away and be wasted. Therefore, she made a small embankment around it with mud and stones and said, "Zamzam, stop, stop." Friends, today that blessed spring is called the well of Zamzam. Thousands of years have passed, but its water has not run out to this day. After this, his wife Hagar began to live in that hut with her son Ishmael. She drank the water of Zamzam and sustained her life with the dates and fruits that grew nearby. Gradually, signs of life began to appear in that desolate area. Many months passed. One day, a caravan of 20 people passed by. The leader of that caravan was a very wise man. He saw a bird flying in the sky. He stopped immediately and said to his companions, "This bird always flies near water. But we have never seen water in this area. If there is no water here, why is this bird hovering here?" Then he said to one of his men, "Go and see, perhaps there is water somewhere." The man went ahead. After a short distance, he climbed a mountain. When he looked ahead, he was astonished. There was a spring of water flowing, and near it, a woman was sitting with her young child in her lap. He ran back to his leader and said, "Leader, your guess was right. There is indeed water there, and a woman is sitting near it with her child." Hearing this, the leader of the caravan himself went there. When he saw his wife Hagar, he asked in surprise, "O woman, who are you and how are you living in this wilderness?" His wife Hagar replied very simply, "I am the wife of Ibrahim, peace be upon him. Allah left me here by his command. Then Allah made this spring of water emerge from the earth for us." The leader was very impressed by this. He said, "If you permit, we would like to settle here with our wives and children." His wife Hagar said, "You can stay here, and you can benefit from this water. But remember, this spring does not belong to any human. It is a blessing from Allah. Therefore, never try to claim it." The Sardar immediately said, "O righteous woman, do not worry at all. We will support you and never cause you any trouble." Transcript, "We will not cause you any trouble." Then all the people of that caravan settled around the Zamzam spring, building their homes. Gradually, that desolate area began to be populated. Where there was once silence, now the voices of people could be heard. Children started playing, camel bells began to ring, and people's lives settled around that blessed spring. But in Palestine, the condition of Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was completely different. His heart was restless all the time with the memory of his wife and son. He prayed to Allah day and night, "O my Lord, grant me permission to see my wife and son just once." A full year passed. He waited every day, but permission was not granted. Then one day, Allah the Almighty gave him permission to go to Mecca, but only to see his wife and son and return. He was not allowed to stay there. Hearing this, tears of joy welled up in the eyes of Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him. He immediately prepared his she-camel and set off towards Mecca. After a long journey of 1 month, he reached the valley where he had left his wife and son. When his wife Hajar saw her husband coming from afar on the she-camel, her joy knew no bounds. Her eyes filled with tears. She ran forward and said, "Come inside, you have come after so many years." But Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, said in a pained voice, "I am only allowed to meet you standing. I am not allowed to dismount from the she-camel." Hearing this, the heart of his wife Hajar broke. A whole year of waiting, thousands of hopes, and all the dreams of meeting shattered in an instant. But she held back her tears. In her heart, she only said, "If this is my Lord's command, then I will be patient." At that time, a 1-year-old little Ismail was in her lap. Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, said with a trembling voice, "Give me my son." His wife Hajar immediately picked up Ismail and handed him over to him. Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, took his son in his lap. He looked at him for a long time. His eyes held love, longing, and pain. Think, friends, after praying for 84 years, he was blessed with a child. He was blessed with a son in his old age, but look at fate, he didn't even get time to hold him close. At that time, Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was 87 years old. He would kiss his son, hold his tiny fingers, and then look at him again and again, as if fearing that he might not meet him again. But then Allah's command came. "O Ibrahim, now return." With a heavy heart, Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, returned his son to his wife Hajar's lap. Then he cast one last glance at his wife and son and turned his she-camel. His wife Hajar stood there. Tears were flowing from her eyes. The meeting she had waited for all year ended in a few moments. If Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, had not come, perhaps patience would have been easier. But now his memories had been refreshed. She watched her husband leave for a long time, until the she-camel disappeared behind the mountains. Time passed. Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, remained in Palestine, and his wife Hajar lived with her son in that valley. 7 years passed like this, and Ismail, peace be upon him, turned 7 years old. In these 7 years, Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, did not get permission to come to Mecca. But his heart was always immersed in the memory of his son. He kept praying to his Lord to see his son once again. Then one night, he had a dream. In the dream, someone said, "O Ibrahim, sacrifice your most precious thing in the way of Allah." Hearing this, he woke up startled. When morning came, he sacrificed 100 goats in the way of Allah. He thought perhaps this was the command. But the next night, the same dream came again. "O Ibrahim, sacrifice your most precious thing for Allah." This time he sacrificed 100 camels. But on the third night, the same voice came. Now Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, understood what Allah was referring to. In this world, if he loved anyone the most, it was his son Ismail. His heart trembled, his eyes filled with tears. He realized that perhaps Allah now wanted him to sacrifice his son in his way. Morning came. He took a sharp knife, prepared his she-camel, and set off towards Mecca. At that time, he was 92 years old. Think, friends, the son for whom he prayed for 84 years, whom he found in his old age, whom he didn't even get the chance to hold close. Now he received the command to sacrifice that same son in the way of Allah. Every step of the she-camel struck his heart. On one hand, there was the joy of meeting his son, and on the other, the pain that this might be the last meeting. Meanwhile, Ismail, peace be upon him, would ask his mother every day, "Mother, when will my father come?" His wife Hajar would lovingly reply, "Son, one day your father will surely come." And finally, that day arrived. After a journey of 1 month, Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, reached Mecca. When his wife Hajar saw him, her eyes filled with joy. Ismail, peace be upon him, also saw his father so closely for the first time. He ran and hugged him. Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, embraced his son, but a storm was raging within his heart. He said to his wife Hajar, "Prepare my son. I want to take him out for a walk." His wife Hajar was very happy. Little did she know that today a sacrifice was written for her son. She quickly prepared Ismail. Then Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, took his son towards the valley of Mina. Ismail, peace be upon him, was happy. He talked with his father all the way, sometimes smiling, sometimes holding his hand. And here, Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was breaking from within with every smile of his son. On the way, Satan appeared before him in human form. He said, "O Ibrahim, where are you going?" He replied, "I am going on an errand." Satan said, "Are you going to slaughter your son?" Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, said, "Can a father slaughter his son?" Satan said, "But you are going to do just that. Are you sure this is Allah's command?" Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, said, "If it is my Lord's command, then I will surely obey him." When Satan failed here, he went to Hazrat Hajar. He said, "Do you know Ibrahim has taken your son to slaughter him?" His wife Hajar replied, "If it is Allah's command, then he has done very well." Then Satan went to Ismail, peace be upon him, and tried to tempt him. But Ismail, peace be upon him, also said, "If my father is doing this on Allah's command, then I am pleased." When Satan failed to tempt the father, mother, and son, he came to the place of stoning. Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, threw 7 pebbles at him. Then he threw 7 pebbles at another place. He also threw 7 pebbles at a third place. This is why Hajj pilgrims still stone the 3 Jamarat today. Finally, they reached the place of sacrifice. Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, said to his son, "O my son, I saw in a dream that I was slaughtering you. Tell me, what is your opinion?" Hearing this, Ismail, peace be upon him, replied with patience and conviction, "O my father, fulfill what your Lord has commanded you. If Allah wills, you will find me among the patient." Then he said, "Father, tie me with strong ropes so that I do not writhe. Sharpen the knife well so that I do not feel too much pain. And when you meet mother, give her my salam." Hearing this, tears flowed from Hazrat Ibrahim's eyes. He laid his son on his forehead, sharpened the knife, and slaughtered it in the name of Allah. But by Allah's command, the knife did not work. At that very moment, a voice came from Allah, "O Ibrahim, you have fulfilled your dream." This was a clear test. At that very moment, Hazrat Jibril, peace be upon him, came from paradise with a ram. He exclaimed loudly, "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar." Hazrat Ibrahim, peace be upon him, understood that Allah had sent a ransom for his son. He joyfully said, "La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar." And Ismail, peace be upon him, said, "Allahu Akbar, Wallillahil Hamd." Friends, this is the great sacrifice in remembrance of which all Muslims around the world still celebrate Eid al-Adha today. Dear friends, if you liked this video, please subscribe to our channel and definitely write, "Allahu Akbar," in the comments.